The Rowan Marshall discussions have progressed quite nicely so far. So there's still I use the word tension, not because there's disagreements between the two clubs, but the tension in this discussion is around whether Geelong should give up a pick in this year's draft or next year's draft. So St Kilda would like it to be next year's draft. I think Geelong's view is that St Kilda probably needs to offload Marshall and maybe one other player because they're pretty full on for money.
So I was interested in Gubby Allen's comments yesterday about they've got a lot of money, and I think they were pointed. Those comments were made pointedly because they don't have the money. Throwing it out there, they do have the money. Right. It's a bit of a reverse.
What?
So does Geelong. No, we have the money. We can keep them if we want to help their bargaining power.
Yeah, so I think Geelong actually believe that that the Saints don't necessarily have all the money in the world, and that trading Rowan Marshall would actually free up some space for them to allow to bring these other players in and Essendon win.
Congratulations anyway on the premiership and what you've done at Melbourne. Can you talk us through the mechanics, just for the people who are listening, the mechanics of how do you decide the middle of the year you're thinking about this? When do you make the decision that it's something you're thinking about, and then how long does it take to go to the club and talk through, and the mechanics of a free agent or trade like this?
Yeah, well, so I guess me being out of contract at the end of the year, knowing I was going to be an unrestricted free agent, meant that there probably isn't as many hurdles to jump through as someone who's in contract and seeking a trade. So there was always sort of talks throughout the year, naturally as there is anyway, with anyone who's out of contract about potentially re-signing, potentially looking to go elsewhere if that's what you want to do. So those were normal chats. To be quite honest, though, given my last 2 years with injury, missing the whole of 2024 and missing a decent portion of this year and struggling for continuity with my footy, the contract situation was stressing me out a little bit. So I tried to put as much of my time and energy into footy and focus on getting back and getting my body right and playing as much footy as I could, and sort of letting my manager deal with that in the background. And then towards the end of the year, when I'd come back from my last injury but wasn't playing AFL, and we'd sort of been in constant talks with North throughout the year. That's when it sort of kind of picked up. And then, I had some really good open discussions with my manager, Tim Lamb, and Alan Richardson at Melbourne, and then spoke to Brady and some people at North Melbourne, and then, sort of came to a decision that it's, for both parties, it was best thing for me to move on, and Melbourne were really appreciative of that as well.
Josh, we've got our first trade.
We do, and it's not Malcolm Roses Jr. going to the Sydney Swans. Riley Beveridge is reporting that the paperwork has been lodged for the Liam Reedy trade from Fremantle to Carlton. Carlton will get Reedy picks 53 and 71. Fremantle will get picks 50 and 68. So the opportunity star of Ruckman is heading to Princes Park.
And Cal, you've broken some news as well that we're expecting a trade, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, but a deal has been agreed for Sam Flanders.
Yeah, it's been agreed. So pick 7 will head to the Suns, as is well expected. We heard from Graham Allen and Craig Cameron, both the list bosses at their respective clubs, St Kilda and Gold Coast, on Monday. But that could go through as early as today, more likely to be Wednesday. It now sets the Suns draft hand as pick 6, 7, 14 and 17 inside the top 20 with a lot left to do. So pick 7, I think, would perform the strong basis of the discussions between Melbourne and Gold Coast. Obviously, Melbourne has been tracking and trying to get Bailey Humphrey to the football club. Gold Coast and Melbourne have met already on Tuesday today, but still plenty to play out in terms of what that Christian Petrarca deal looks like. They have remained adamant that Bailey Humphrey would be staying at the football club. He has his reasons to want to get back to Victoria, but ultimately they will be staying firm on and resolute on keeping him there. But Sam Flanders, that trade is essentially agreed.
Might start, Matt, obviously, with the big talking point and Zach Merritt. I don't think you could have been any more adamant yesterday that the club 100% will not trade Zach Merritt. I'm guessing nothing's changed in the 24 hours since then.
No, nothing's changed in that space. We've been really clear how important Zach is to us. He had another super season this year, capping it off with his 6 Triton medals. So, he's super valuable for our football club. And, nothing's changed there.
I know I asked you this yesterday, Matt, but 24 hours is a long time in trade period terms. I imagine still no official trade request from Zach?
No trade request. Yeah. As I said, nothing's changed since yesterday. We are aware that Zach's in a hurry. He's the ultimate competitor. He wants to win, and he wants to win now. But Zach has been very clear, and his management have been very clear that he believes in the direction that the club is on. He really believes in the young talent that we've got coming through. But yeah, as we know, he is the ultimate competitor. He wants to win now. But yeah, we'll continue discussions with Zach. The relationship is really good, and Brad and Welshie primarily are continuing those conversations with Zach.
I wanted to ask that. What's the communication been like with Zach in recent times? Particularly, he wins the 6th Crichton medal. He's only now behind Dick Reynolds and Bill Hutchison at the footy club. It's in extremely rare air. We all know his quality, but how's that communication and discussion been with him since then?
Yeah, it's been really open, and yeah, there has been good two-way communication. So yeah, as stated yesterday, we understand there's some frustrations there. He's a winner. He wants to win now. But as I said, he's got real belief in our young fellas coming through, and real belief in what we're doing as a football club.
Matt, does it take some management beyond the trade period? If Zach Merritt's still an Essendon player next Thursday night, which you've been very clear he will be, does it take some management in the weeks and months that follow the trade period, do you think?
Well, our players and our club have been really clear that we love Zach, and things can move on really quickly. No doubt, those discussions are already happening, have happened, and will continue to happen. That we see Zach as an Essendon player moving forward, and clubs can move on really quickly, and we've got no doubt the professional player that Zach is, that he'll continue to play great football for the football club.
So the Sam Draper departure brought pick 20 to the club. You've now got 4, 5, 20, 26 and 29 as part of your draft hand. How aggressive can you be with those draft picks? Do you look to bundle a couple of them together to get higher up the board, or do you look to stay where you are? How aggressive do you want to be with those selections?
Yeah, we are really excited about the hand that we do have, because it does provide us with flexibility to get to work. So we'll continue working on if we can get up the draft order, options of moving into next year as well. But we're certainly really comfortable with the players that'll be there at the pointy end of the draft. But yeah, I guess in ranking order of priority, the number one priority would be to try and get up in this draft if we can. But yeah, we'll explore all options.
Do you try for pick number 1, Matt? You've got 4 and 5. West Coast might have 1 and 2, most likely have 1 and 2. Is there any chance you shift up from 4 and 5, and do you look at that?
Yeah, we've let West Coast and Richmond know that we'd be keen to explore moving up. Those discussions haven't progressed too far. So yeah, we'll continue working through that, and if we feel there can be a win-win, and that does result in us moving up, yeah, we'll look at that.
And who do you like in that draft range? I'll just give us some names, maybe a couple that you're really keen on. We've obviously just come out of the draft combine, and you would have done 30+ interviews, I'm sure, over Friday and Saturday at the MCG. What's the group looking like that you're picking out of at that sort of range? And added to that, I mean, the deal that you did last year with Melbourne to get this extra top 5 pick, I mean, it's worked out really well. How pleased are you that one's come through like it has?
Yeah, we were always comfortable with that deal, that, regardless if it was pick 5 or a pick outside of 10, that was a win-win for both us and Melbourne. We feel like we both achieved a result out of that deal. I can't give you too many names, Cal, but I can say that it's probably a range of 10 to 15 players that we're still considering for those early picks. But yeah, when you do meet these boys, when you go out to home visits, or you do your interviews over the draft combine, and the caliber of characters that you meet, and the talent that you is going to be coming through your door, it's really exciting for our football club. So yeah, we're looking forward to continuing getting to work. We haven't quite finalised our exact draft order yet, but I'd say there's still sort of 10 to 15 players in the mix.
Liam Reedy has joined Carlton from Fremantle. And now, Cal, we have had our second trade completed. Sydney has secured a deal for Malcolm Roses Jr. The The Swans will land Roses and pick 62. Gold Coast will receive 51 and 69. Expecting that to be finalised very, very shortly. So 2 trades through the gates, Cal.
Bang, bang.
But we might start with Clayton Oliver. You spoke yesterday of the club's interest. You said you might be getting on a flight up to Sydney to meet him. Has that happened in the 24 hours since we last spoke to you?
No, not in the 24 hours since. We're still doing our work. I'll find out this afternoon when that meeting's going ahead, when I ring Nick. So he might be touring the Giants facilities potentially today. I'm not sure, but I'll find out this afternoon what the next moves are.
There's a little scoop for us. So the meeting is going ahead, though? You are going up?
Yeah, at this point in time, unless he signs a contract by then. That's the plan.
What's the level of interest in Clary? What are the things you're deciding on as you take the next steps?
Oh, well, obviously it's a position of need going forward. We've got an ageing midfield that you guys keep telling us about consistently. So we know it too. I mean, everyone knows that. And we want to slowly develop that part of the field. We've still got some great young talent. I mean, with Ned Long and obviously Nick Dacos, we've got probably the best, if not the best midfielder in the competition. So at a young age. So we do have players. And also you see things like Bo McCreary going through there late in the year. See the excitement of options that we could put through there. So we do have some good young talent, but it's just a matter of, I guess, providing the support around that as our veterans retire.
Do you have an indication of what Melbourne would actually be after and how much they'd be willing to tag into his contract?
No, as I said yesterday, what was reported seems similar, but we're still at the point of making sure that, that Clayton wants to choose us and we want to choose him. So, as I said, we should know that in the next day or two, and whether, again, he might choose the Giants and we might be out of the race or vice versa.
If you did choose the Giants and didn't come to the Pies, is midfield still a priority for you for the rest of the period? I mean, I know that's a hypothetical, but all the eggs are in that basket at the moment. But if it doesn't go that way, is the midfield still an area that you need to look at?
Yeah, it's the first one we're looking at. You see from our end of our season finished probably with, just quite simply the clearance work and the field position Brisbane were able to put against us. And in key moments, you need to have many and multiple options to bat through there. And we just found just for the important time of year, we didn't have that. So, of course, it's the first area. It's not the only area, of course, but it's the hardest one to fill and do right. We'll be looking at that.
Toomey dominating the 2025 trade period and providing yet again another news update. Tweeted moments ago that Adelaide has asked the question about Riley Sanders. The Western Bulldogs midfielder has a year to run on his deal at the Dogs, but has become a possible target for the Crows. More of that or more on that on afl.com.au. As a Bulldog great, Jono, how do you rate Sanders?
How do you feel?
I rate Sanders, yeah. I rate him. In bottom of my heart, because he's from Tasmania, you sort of you go there in terms of the Bulldogs will develop him nicely for Tassie to come into the system. Hopefully not, but I can understand why the Adelaide Crows would be having a good look at someone like a Riley Sanders for what he can bring as a young player to their midfield.
Yeah, I listened to Justin Reid, their list manager, talk about get questioned at the at Marvel Stadium yesterday, and everything was around the midfield and. I think there's a balance for them. They certainly know they need to improve, but are probably hopeful. He mentioned Curtin and he mentioned Sid Draper, guys we talked about. Hopeful one of those or two of those guys can really pop for them around the ball. But I mean, it's good that there's so many different ways you can improve your list. I mean, Riley Sanders was a name I didn't think would come up this trade period. No. So. That's just
and
where
not
we've
for the
got
Crows.
To. Yeah, that's just
given
where
the Tassie connection.
Where we've got to
clearly at play, as you've alluded to.